And we are back with Making Connections. This is our weekly interview segment where we meet the interesting people who make up our community and hear their stories. Now, Korea, of course, has been on a trajectory becoming a multi-ethnic state for some time, whether it be through foreign spouses, labor migrants, international students, or those enchanted by various aspects of K-culture. The country is faced with finding ways to embrace multiculturalism. And our guest today is also helping us to do that. Iman Mohammed, a Somali American who fell in love with Korean dramas and K-pop and convinced her parents to allow her to make the transcontinental move here. She has a background in journalism. She teaches English, including to K-pop trainees, and she also runs a YouTube channel that highlights the life of a Muslim woman here in Seoul. So we're very, very happy to have you in the studio. Good morning and welcome, Iman.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Our regular listener from Morocco, El Baroum, is also very surprised and I think very delighted to hear that you're going to be on the show today.
Oh, really? That's great.
It's great to have you in the studio. So once again, as I mentioned, you're a Somali-American Muslim woman here in Korea. I believe it makes you one of the few and maybe definitely but part of the multicultural fabric of the country. So we're going to get to know you in more detail, I guess, find out about your connection to Korea as well. But before we get into that, I believe today's the last day of Ramadan, right?
Is.
The holy month of fasting.
Yes, it's so bittersweet. I'm like, yay, but at the same time, it's just there's something about Ramadan, like the environment and just going on the spiritual journey through this whole month. So I was telling my mom, I'm like, I'm sad that it's over. It just goes by so fast.
It is pretty tough, isn't it? I mean, you have to fast basically no water, nothing to eat from sunrise to sunset.
Sunset,
yes. And the days are pretty long these days as well. Isn't it very difficult?
I think, since I've been fasting since I was really, really young, you kind of like get trained to do it. And so I think now it's not as hard. Especially just because you kind of get into a routine. I think the beginning is hard when you're first starting. The first 3 days can be challenging, but once you get into it, it's okay.
I have fasted for about 3 days, actually. That's about the extent of my fasting, but I was taking in liquids. And I have to say, after the initial difficulty of just always thinking about food and what's not in your stomach, you do reach this kind of point where your head seems a bit clearer as well. You definitely feel lighter.
Yes.
And you almost do get to enjoy that kind of state.
Definitely. And I think, I make it a point to wake up early in the morning and have the pre-fasting meal. Okay. Just because I feel like that sets me for the day. And so that definitely helps. But I know a lot of people who just sleep through the night and don't. So I think that can take a toll on you.
What do you do on the last day of Ramadan? Do you have a bigger feast than usual after sunset? Do you get together with friends and have a
It depends,
big meal?
yeah. Families, living alone in Korea, there's not much I'm going to be doing. I'll be working, so I'll break my fast on the side. But on the last day, yes, it's officially the start of Eid. So families will have a feast, get cooking, and I think it varies with everyone.
I guess this is one of the days when you will miss your family and friends back home as well.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, let's talk about then how you left all that behind and you made your way all the way here to Korea.
Yes.
What was your first connection?
Oh, wow. So my best friend, Julie, back in high school, this was 2007, she had been watching shows with her mom, but her mom was watching Korean dramas, Taiwanese dramas, and Chinese dramas, all dubbed in Vietnamese. And she just did not like it.
So Julie is Vietnamese?
Yes, she's Vietnamese. And so I'm from Minnesota in the States. So she was like, I can't watch it with Vietnamese dubbed. So she ordered one of the Taiwanese dramas that her mom was watching. And it had subtitles. So she was like, Iman, can you please just watch this with me? I ordered it. I'm like, sure, no problem. But the subtitles were horrible.
The English subtitles,
yes, it was a little translation of the Chinese characters in their name. So it was like white forest.
Oh dear, yeah.
Black tree.
I can imagine.
It's like, what? But it was so good. So people who watch dramas today are so lucky because they get advanced subtitles where we're trying to figure out what is going on in this scene? So she got me started.
So the introduction to Korean culture and Korean dramas wasn't necessarily just Korea, but I guess it was an introduction to sort of East Asian.
Yes, definitely.
Then why Korea? I mean, you could have gone to Taiwan, you could have gone to Vietnam even. Why Korea?
So after she introduced us to Taiwanese dramas, she was like, oh, if you like it, I can give you more. So she started giving us more dramas. And then with the Korean dramas, she would burn it on these CDs. And there was a soundtrack in the menu. And I was like, this sounds so good. What is it? It's R&B. I love R&B. And she's like, oh, it's this Korean artist. It's the main actor in this drama. And I was like, wait, what? He sings too. So I think finding P, it was P from Full House.
Okay.
Yes. So through that, that's when I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this country. I need to find a way to learn the language. And so through that, in university, I started majoring in Asian languages and literature. And so that's when I was like, okay, I like Japanese, I like Korean, I need the credits. So that's what pushed me towards Korea instead of Taiwan or even Japan.
Okay. So when did you make the move here then?
Wow. So
after you graduate, I suppose?
No, I actually came in 2012 by myself for a month just to kind of see if Korea was the place for me. And my mom was like, I hope you get over this phase. Like, I always hear about Korea. Just go, get over with it, and come back. But no, I came back and I was like, I need to go back.
1 month? Yes, that's usually when you're still in the honeymoon period. You know, you feel like you haven't explored enough of this country and all the diversity that does offer. So yeah, 1 month is definitely not enough.
It's not.
So you came back the next year?
No, so actually I signed up for AmeriCorps and I was a reading corps tutor. And then through that, they give you an education award. So I used that education award to get my TEFL certificate in order to teach in Korea.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up coming back in 2015.
2015. And you've been here ever since?
Yes.
Never went back?
No, I did go back to
you did go
visit.
Back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's been about 6 years.
Yes.
So, I mean, I heard a little bit of Korean on one of your videos. I was going through them, and your Korean sounds amazing as well.
Thank you.
Did you also, when you said you majored in Asian languages, were you learning Korean then too?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was taking Korean courses and Japanese courses at the same time.
Okay.
So I had so many credits towards that minor that I went ahead and completed the minor to my major in journalism. So,
not a big problem when you came here with the language and all that?
No, not at all.
I imagine the culture must have been a little bit more difficult to really assimilate to as well, because not only is it a foreign culture, but, you know, not a huge, I'm not sure exactly what the size of the Muslim community here as well, though, but you don't see so much of it, I guess, for a regular Korean like myself. So that must have been quite jarring. Did you not find it a little bit difficult?
Not really. I think because I spent so much time watching Korean content on YouTube, and I had Korean friends at my university who I could talk to. So they kind of like broke the barriers of any stereotypes I had. And I think I never looked at the dramas and thought, oh my God, Korea is this like amazing place. And when I go there, it's going to be perfect. So I never had any issues with the culture. It was more like, oh, okay, this is what I kind of imagined, but it's not this perfect place.
That is quite interesting, because a lot of people, when they do make that basically life-changing move to go to a new country, you are enthralled by it. You maybe don't idealize it as a perfect place, but you look to it as being better than maybe where you come from. And you do come in with kind of rose-tinted glasses, but you seem to have made a realistic choice. You knew from what you saw, maybe what you heard through your friends, that it wouldn't be perfect, but you were willing to cope with it.
They kind of prepared me, because they were like, Iman, you know, you are outwardly Muslim and you wear a scarf, and there's not a lot of Muslims in Korea.
Right.
So you're going to face a lot of discrimination and stereotypes. So just be prepared. I actually had friends who were like, I hope she doesn't go to Korea, because when she goes, she might experience some racism, and that might deter her from being interested in Korea. So I kind of was prepared. And I was like, no, you know, moving to Korea to America as an immigrant, I kind of already experienced that. I think that prepared me in coming to Korea.
Right. You have some fans.
Oh, really?
Messaging in, like Elmer, as I mentioned, from Morocco, saying, oh my God, I thought someone may have the same name. I follow Iman on Instagram for a while now, indeed. A very gorgeous lady.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Even more gorgeous in the flesh, I have to say. Ramadan is super easy as soon as you get used to it. Then you realize you really can do without caffeine. That's true. You have to go without caffeine during the whole day as well.
I found a way around it.
Okay. Do share.
So what I do is, now I have like my matcha latte in the morning. So
before the sunrise.
Yes, when I have my meal, that's like the last thing I have.
Okay.
That's how I get my caffeine for the day. And then at night when we break our fast, I get my caffeine fix there too.
There you go. It doesn't stop you from it doesn't wreak havoc with your sleep pattern?
No.
Okay.
I can go straight
All
to
right.
sleep.
Good. I have another message from Cheesy Makers. I can't actually read this. Can you see it? The hello, Iman, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just peace be with you in
I
Arabic.
see.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a greeting.
All right. So it seems like we have some fans joining us here today. And they know you, of course, because of your YouTube channel,
Yes.
Hijabi in Seoul City. I don't know when you started this, but you already have nearly 50,000
Yes, we're almost
subscribers. I subscribed early
thank
today
you.
as well. So tell us about this. I mean, when did you decide to do it and why, I guess?
Wow. So I always had the YouTube channel, but I changed the name back in 2014 because my best friend, Julie, again, she was like, you're going to move to Korea, so you should change the name. And when I had first visited Korea in 2012, my album for my photos was Hijabi in Seoul City off of a song from CL, who is from 21. And so because of that, I decided, okay, I'm going to name my channel Hijabi in Seoul City, and I'm going to be a resource because a lot of the content back then was I couldn't find anyone that looked like me and their experience in Korea.
Right.
So I wanted to be that resource for other Muslims who are looking to study in Korea, maybe work in Korea one day, visit it, and just show them what we can do because we can't drink, we can't eat pork. So a lot of people are like, what can you even do in Korea?
I mean, pork is a big part of the Korean dining culture here.
Yeah, and alcohol. So I just wanted to show them that, yes, we have these things that we have to be mindful of when we go to Korea, but there's a lot for us to do. So that's kind of where I got the idea to create my channel.
So most of your followers are not here in Korea? You believe that most of them are overseas with an interest in maybe coming to Korea or interest in Korean culture in general?
Definitely. A large majority of them are from either the United States, the UK. I have some from Malaysia, Indonesia, just all over, really.
But like the Korean government and the Muslim global community, the halal market everyone's talking about how the huge potential of it as well.
Definitely.
So even here in Korea, I sense that there's a greater interest in learning more about the Muslim world as well.
Yes.
I imagine that you could have a growing number of people wanting to learn about your culture. Do you get questions or maybe some comments about that to try to cover, just comment about your own culture as well?
My Somali
from
culture?
Koreans?
Not from Koreans. I think because my content is only in English, a lot of my subscribers come to me and want to see, well, what is life like for a Muslim in Korea? What is it that you can do? Where can you pray? Things like that.
Yeah.
But with Koreans, I don't really have a Korean audience that comes to my channel, I would say.
Okay. A lot of the YouTubers do sort of collaborate together, do they not? And I know that you have events. I saw one of your videos in which you said you are making also friends through these other YouTube sort of, I don't know, events where they're brought together. Do you collaborate with them as well?
Yes, we collaborate not only in videos, but then we also, let's say, KTO sponsors a trip for us to go around Korea. Then we will make videos together there, or we'll have Instagram posts there. But I think mostly, I used to do collaborations when I first came to Korea, but now it's more that we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
So we build those connections and actually become friends. So I would say with those same creators, we build more friendships than content creating.
But you're also competitors.
I
Competing
know.
for eyeballs.
I think for me, I'm not really in it to compete. It's more that I know that I can make genuine connections with my subscribers because I feel like they can sense if you're doing it for the numbers or if you're doing it because it's something that you actually enjoy doing. And being an English teacher, and that's my main job. Having my YouTube channel, it's an outlet for me to be creative. So I don't really look at it like that. I feel like I could be way bigger if that was my ultimate goal. But I think my genuineness comes across in my content.
Having met you in person, though, and I've also looked at some of the content that you do create, you seem to touch on a lot of things. I mean, it could be beauty, it could be eating, it could be a lot of things. And it feels like you are very curious and you want to explore all these things here in Korea. Has it gotten easier for you in the 6 years that you've been here? I mean, for example, even the most simple thing of going to a restaurant when you go on a trip.
Yes.
I mean, it could be one thing here in Seoul, but going out of Seoul, it might be very difficult to find halal certified food. Has it become better?
I think, well, in Seoul in particular, veganism is this huge trend now. So if you go to Yeonam-dong, you're going to find so many vegan bakeries and restaurants. So that has made life so much easier, not only for me, but for my friends who are pescatarian or vegetarian. But whenever I go outside of Seoul, I always, have to eat seafood or find those kind of options. It is difficult. I know Korea was really interested in pursuing like halal meat, but then certain groups in Korea were like, no.
They were opposed to
There
it.
were actual like petitions
I see.
that were posted about not pursuing that because it became more political. Like so seeing that I think was disheartening. I feel like if it was allowed for halal factories to be built in Korea, we would have a lot more options throughout the country. But because that was kind of prevented, it is really hard outside of Korea.
That's very unfortunate.
Outside of Seoul.
Do you feel it's important to get your voice out there, to speak out on these things as well, to make that obviously you are a minority, but you're also part of the community, and you feel like you're using this YouTube channel to also get your voice heard and your face seen also?
Yeah, definitely. I think when Koreans do come across my content, they come with stereotypes that they have about Muslims, and I face a lot of negative comments if I do get Koreans on my channel who tell me like, thank you for learning our language, but when you're done, can you please leave?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so seeing that kind of stuff, it's like, ooh. So I think the media plays a huge role on their perception of Muslims. I would love to change what they think about us and say that, it's not necessarily what you see in the media, and I'm a Muslim living in Korea. I pay my taxes. I do anything that any other foreigner would do, but I feel like being a Muslim in Korea, I feel like I'm always having to prove myself. Definitely.
How do you think you can help change their sort of misconceptions about Muslims then?
Oh, gosh. I think just being myself and showing that even though I'm a Muslim woman, that what they think we believe or promote is not necessarily the narrative that we have, and seeing me as someone working in Korea, that's not my ultimate goal, that I'm not doing that. So I think just being myself and showing through my content that I love Korean culture, I love promoting it to foreigners, and I think that's how I would try to do it.
So let's naturally progress to your future plans. I mean, obviously you're doing very well with your YouTube channel. You're continuing to teach English. Are there some other areas that you're thinking about branching out into?
Yeah, so like a year and a half ago, I switched over from the teaching visa to the resident visa. And so through that, I would love to just pursue things out of teaching that are more connected to my creative side.
Right.
I would love to pursue radio, TBS.
You have a very nice voice for radio.
Oh, thank you.
But I have to say, I noticed a lot of the comments, they're talking about your fashion as well.
Oh, yes.
And if you're joining us through YouTube, you'll also see that Iman is dressed beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
You really are gorgeous. And it seems like you have a love of fashion, and Korean fashion and makeup is also kind of big as well. Any plans to do something in that area?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I feel like because of my friends who are really into fashion and they give a lot of tips about how to coordinate your outfits, I think that's what evolved my fashion. So I don't know if I could actually pursue anything in the fashion area, but it's a lot of fun to dress up and put on makeup.
Well, they say that when you have a passion and you love something, those are probably the best areas to actually pursue a career in as well. So you start with a hobby or a passion, and then it can progress as well.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So I think that'll have to do it for today. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But if you can give out the answer to the question of the day, what do you call the place of worship for Muslims?
Oh, I heard two of the possible answers. Either a mosque or a masjid is correct.
But the second word is also masjid, is also just another word for mosque, right? Okay. So basically, all of our listeners did get it right. 8342, also saying Allah, Muslim worships him in Mecca. And 5819 saying good morning, it's hump day. It is indeed. 정답 정답은 mosque입니다. So that will have to do it for today. I want to thank our guest, Iman Muhammad, once again for coming into the studio. I wish you the best of luck with your channel and your future stay here in Korea.
Thank you so much.